Brace yourselves for Tad Sherman and Jeff Morris. There exists a threat, from anti-hunting groups to politicians trying to give our land away, and we won't stand for it. Those vast western landscapes provide the space for our wildlife to thrive and a place for hunters and anglers to fuel the fire that sparks their soul. In this show, we share our love of hunting, fishing, and conservation. Here, we provide the foundation to meet these threats through passion and the grit of the American outdoorsman. Welcome to the Western Huntsman Podcast. What's happening, everybody? What's happening? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode number 69 of the Western Huntsman Podcast. This is Jim Huntsman, the host, and I'm coming at you from the Broken Tine Studio right here in Hayden, Idaho. Thank you guys for joining us. I've got a really fun episode for you today. I blame these two for my slight inebriation that could be noticed in this episode, but it's all about bear hunting, and we talk about pronghorn hunting, a little bit of everything. But these guys are a lot of fun, and a lot of people know them in Idaho. They're well-known dudes in Idaho. This is Jeff Morris and Tad Sherman, and these guys are long-time and very successful bear hunters. They get it done with a bow, and we talk a lot about the baiting aspect of it, from the ethics to strategy to everything. We get into a little bit of all, and I'm really excited for you guys to hear this episode. It's really cool. So before we get there, though, let me tell you a little bit about Hoffman Boots. They are the ones sponsoring this particular episode, and they are the go-to boot company that I've had for a long, long time. And guys, you know that if they are on this podcast as a sponsor, it's because I truly believe in the product, and Hoffman Boots is no exception to that. I've tried and put a lot of miles on a lot of different kinds of boots, whether they're high-end, low-end, mid-grade, or anything along those lines. The nice thing with Hoffman is you're going to get a very high-end product without breaking the bank, and they're going to keep your feet dry. They're going to keep your feet stuck to the mountain in the wettest conditions. You're going to go up and down without slipping and sliding. I love the 8-inch Explorers because I like that higher boot for the ankle support. You can get them in the 10-inch, or you can even get them if you like the 6-inch. A lot of people just like those 6-inch Hoffmans. Whether you're going with the Hoffman Explorer or the Hoffman Summit, you are going to be in good company, and you need to get those boots ordered because they're kind of everything's like back ordered right now. And so, you just keep that in mind. So if you're looking for some new boots, by the time you're ready to go out, spring bear is here. But you need to get online and check it out at hoffmanboots.com and use promo code Huntsman10 for 10% off of those boots. I promise you will not regret having a pair of Hoffmans. The other thing that I need to mention real quick, guys, is we are really excited. Speaking of sponsorships, if you guys are interested in filming your hunt and getting out there and capturing the footage, whether you're just going to use it to keep as a memory, or you're actually a content creator and you want to make YouTube videos, or you are somebody that really believes in the science of filming something in an effort to learn from mistakes or learn what you did well. That's one of the reasons I like to film all my hunts. And so Tactacam came, they came to the Western Huntsman and wanted to sponsor the show, which they did. They are a show sponsor. And so I've been using the Tactacam products for about a year now. But we were able to take it a step further, and we were able to add essentially the entire Tactacam lineup of products to the westernhuntsman.com. So, I don't want to make this like a big sales pitch for everybody listening, but I do want to tell you that if you jump on the westernhuntsman.com and go hit there's a tab that says Gear Shop, and you can go to either gear or merchandise. Hit the gear tab, and it's going to give you all the Tactacam options. And we've got a bunch of them on sale on there right now, and you can get them in a package with all the different attachments and extra batteries and different things like that. But this camera is really, really cool. It takes excellent footage. It's 4K footage, great audio. So you'll get a great camera. But the other part of this, guys, is I just didn't feel right about doing this without having the conservation aspect of it, of everything that we've talked about. So There's going to be a portion of those proceeds, depending on which product you get, is going to change the percentage of the proceed just depending on how profitable the product is and whatnot. So it changes with everything. There's going to be some whatever money we generate from that, we're taking that money and we're going to be donating it to various conservation efforts, whether that conservation effort is wildlife management or public lands or access. Something that we are working on in quarter 2 for 2021 is our Sportsman's Alliance thing. So we're going to be donating money to Sportsman's Alliance, which you guys need to make sure you tune in next week to learn more about the Sportsman's Alliance. It's a very important organization. And I have somebody special on for that episode, and you guys are going to learn a lot more because it's one of those organizations that a lot of hunters don't really realize what they're doing behind the scenes. So a lot of that revenue is going to be going towards them. And that counts if you go to the merchandise tab and you buy the Don't Buck with Public Land t-shirt. That is going to have money donated towards Sportsman's Alliance, or anything on the gear shop, within the gear shop. That is always, and that's just going to be a running theme, guys. That's not some special thing we're doing right now. Any gear you buy on the Western Huntsman podcast website within the gear shop is going to have various percentages donated towards conservation causes. Because I'm serious about it. And you guys like the gear. If you like the gear, then purchase it from us, because that way you're getting the gear and you're also helping help with conservation and those efforts. So that's my sales pitch for that. If you guys want to, check it out at thewesternhuntsman.com and just hit that gear tab and check out the Tactacam stuff. It's really cool. With that said, guys, like I mentioned just a minute ago, it is, bear season for Idaho is already open, and I'm pretty sure it's open in Montana, Washington, most of the western states. If there's a spring bear season, it's opened up. So here we are, and I know for like me, I can't quite get my barrel into where, because I'm going to be baiting, I can't quite get my barrel into where I'm going to be hunting just yet because of the snow. So we're still waiting on a little bit of snow, but it's coming. So if you're not already out there, it's coming soon. And I thought it would be really cool. I've been trying to get these guys on the show for a long time to get a couple of experts on Western bear hunting, particularly hunting with bait. And that brings us to Tad Sherman and Jeff Morris. These two are not just excellent hunters. They're not just successful mentor-like hunters. These guys actually put their money where their mouth is in terms of being a hunting mentor. They introduce a lot of people, both adult and youth hunters, out into the field. That's so important for where we stand as a hunting community, and these guys do that. In fact, they sacrifice a lot of their own hunting time to make sure that they're out there teaching others. On top of that, they're just a riot. They're a couple of great guys. They love to be super sarcastic, and they're hilarious. That's why I like having them on my show. You guys know I like to laugh a lot, and so we do that a lot in this episode. I really had a lot of fun recording with these guys. People have been telling me to get these guys on the show since the show started, in fact. And if you're in Idaho, you probably know who they are. Some of you out-of-stater guys and gals out there might not know who these guys are, but they're just like for reference, in Idaho, most people know who Tad and Jeff are, just because they've done a lot for Idaho and hunting and the community here. Tad is the former president of Idaho State Bow Hunter, and they're just a couple of great guys that are super willing to share their experience and knowledge when it comes to bear baiting and bear hunting, and just hunting in general. We talk pronghorn hunting. We talk a little bit about everything. So these guys, they're fantastic. And I want to thank them for coming on the show. You guys are going to really enjoy it. With that said, without further ado, give it up for my boys, Tad Sherman and Jeff Morris. All right, guys, on the show this week, I've got a couple of guys I've been really twisting their arm for about a little over a year to get on the show here. I finally cornered them, finally convinced them. I don't have to pay them that much even. And on the line, I got Jeff Morris and Tad Sherman, both down in southern Idaho, and we're going to talk all sorts of things about bear hunting, baiting, and wherever the hell else this conversation goes to. Guys, I appreciate you coming on. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Jim. Excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks for inviting us, Jim. Sorry it didn't work out earlier.
No, that's okay. Actually, I think it was my fault last time, so I'm just glad. This is actually perfect timing because we're sitting here, late April, and everybody's gearing up for bear season. Some people are already out. I don't know how. I can't even get to my bear spot right now with all the snow, but and you guys are like serial bear killers, and so I'm pretty excited about this conversation, and because this is my first year of actual baiting for bears. I've never done it before, but I have a whole bin full of Batum 9. I had to put it in one of those syllable bins because it smells so bad. Actually, it's not a horrible smell. It's just potent, and so why don't we kick this off, Tad? Let's start with you. Give us a little background on you, and we'll move on to Jeff and go from there.
Background. Let's see. I started bow hunting about the time I could when I was a young kid. I think 14 was the age you could do that, and started chasing bears probably in my early 20s. I've been chasing everything I can with a bow since then. Rarely use a rifle because, well, I'm not good with one. Last time I took a rifle out, I told Jeff to treat me like I was a 12-year-old kid and teach me how to shoot it. So, and I wasn't kidding. I'm like, dude, I'm not going to be offended here. Just talk to me like I'm stupid, because I am. So it worked out well. I hit the target once.
So you're pretty much you're like strictly a bow hunter for the most part, huh?
I've shot 2 animals in the last 15 years with a rifle.
Gotcha.
That was it. So yeah, bow hunting.
Bow hunting's a thing because and it makes sense because former president of ISB, is that correct?
Yes, I was the president of Idaho State Bow Hunters for 7 years, but on the board for like 12 or 14 years before that too.
Sweet. Jeff, why don't you give us the bird's eye?
Well, I was into hunting in high school, and all I really did was rifle hunt. And then I got married, and I'm hoping she's not listening, but I figured out I have to find other ways to hunt to get out of the house more. So I started bow hunting. Just kidding about that. No, I started bow hunting when I was about 21 or so. And then my first bear encounter was while I was bow hunting, and it was just an incidental deal, and I got it with my bow, and I was hooked ever since, and started baiting that next spring, and had no idea what I was doing, but that was where it all started.
How long ago was that?
Well, if I was 21, it was about 21 years ago.
Oh, gotcha. That's when you started baiting.
I started baiting probably that next year, and not super serious. I mean, I was one of those guys that thought you could throw a dozen donuts out and, some strawberries and sit there and wait for them, because they were going to come running. And
so there's more to it, huh?
Lots more to it.
Yeah, that trial and error, the first 5 years of everything or 10 years of it was pretty painful.
Well, I'm counting on you guys, man. I am counting on you guys to guide me, show me the light with this thing, because I've never done it. So hopefully I don't have a 5-year learning curve here, but I'm going to give it hell.
Tad and I have realized that the bear baiting world is full of assholes. You know what those are?
I've heard of them before.
They ask you a lot of questions about how to do stuff, and you give them a good answer, and they still don't listen. They still don't do what you told them, and then they wonder why they're not being successful. So I call those the assholes.
That's not just limited to bear hunting, man.
No. Our inboxes every March and April just get slammed with guys, what about this? What about that? And we try and help them out. And then you just see them, did you go to where I told you? Did you put it where I told you to put it and everything? And it's always like, oh, well, it was pretty close, or I found a better spot than where you told me to go. And and everything.
Did you watch the wind? Did you do scent control? There's so many things with it where people are like, well, no, I have to hike 2 miles up into it.
Yeah.
And like, wait, so you're sweaty and stinky when you get in there and then have the downdrafts going right down the trail and you didn't see a bear?
Yeah.
That's weird.
I know. It's funny you guys say that kind of stuff because I get the same thing. I get an inbox full of all these questions about, hey, what do you think of this situation? Whether they're calling it an elk or hunting deer or whatever, because people are smart enough to know not to ask me about bear hunting. Yeah, and then they'll give me a recap, and it's like, man, that is the exact thing that I told you not to do. Yeah, exactly. So, what do you guys do for a day job?
Well, I sell insurance and I own the agency. So a lot of people say I don't have a job. I just hunt. But I figured out early on. I went to school in biology because I really wanted to be a conservation officer or a biologist. And then I volunteered with the Fish and Game for a while and realized those guys don't get to hunt nearly as much as I'd like to. So I had to shift gears and find a occupation that would allow me to have the time and the money to hunt. So
I think that's a holdup for a lot of people. That I consider that too. And it was like, I could spend my time checking hunters and licenses and all that kind of stuff, or I could actually hunt. And that's what stopped me. What about you, Jeff or Tad?
I'm actually a roofing contractor, so I own a roofing company down here in the Boise area, and I have kind of the same background as Jeff. As I went to college to try and become a biologist for Fish and Game, and I worked for them for a couple of years through fisheries and through wildlife on different projects. This is a bioaid and biotech, and all the guys that I worked with at the time all ended up becoming conservation officers. And I just knew that was something I didn't want to do. And really, most of them still are conservation officers. And, I'm still great friends with them and think highly of their work. So we appreciate them and get to joke with them quite a bit. But I couldn't do that. And I couldn't go into something that for the same thing as Jeff. They don't get to hunt as much as they would like to.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
I want to spend time out there doing the stuff I love. And so I went into a field that, I get to go out and hunt and fish and goof off when I can.
So what, do you do like mainly residential roofing, Tad, or?
Residential and commercial.
Oh, do you?
Yep.
I'm in commercial roofing up here in the, panhandle of Idaho. So we're not competitors.
That's good because I wouldn't want to, steal all your jobs.
No, you'd go down. You'd go down to Chinatown, man. I'm really good at selling jobs.
Yeah, fantastic. I have another buddy up there that probably is your competitor. So.
Oh, you better. I'm gonna fish him out, man. Tell me who it is. I know all of them up here.
Ed Winiger.
Oh man, okay. You named the one dude I don't know. Apparently,
he's a great guy. Him and his family have been involved with Idaho State bow hunters for years, and they are very dedicated volunteers and just fantastic people up there. So, I always joke around about being roofers and cussing and swearing, and
Yep. I know everybody's like, "Oh, you cuss like a sailor." Have you been on a roofing project, man? I mean, come on. Yeah. Sailors don't cuss.
We make sailors blush.
Exactly. And what I like about the roofing industry is kind of what you were just saying. It's just great people, man. Like whether they're, in the field all I do is estimating and sales now, but it's just a great industry and it gives me a lot of flexibility because by the time all the fall hunts, but everybody's done worrying about roofing projects unless they're one of those people that wait till the last minute. Right. And
yeah, I tend to get really busy in September.
Yeah, I'm in commercial only, so I know residential does, but for me, it's all commercial, and I tell all my customers, if you call me in September for a roof, you are waiting until March. I'll call you back in March. Don't worry about it. So it works out.
Good.
What do you guys think? I want to talk about, we started talking about baiting bears, and there's this thing that I didn't know exists. And it's this ethical question of whether we should be able to bait bears or not bait bears. So I didn't know this existed. And I've just been talking about it because I had Scott Schmid actually referred me to Jess Gann to get her on the show. And she owns Batum 907. And we ended up having a great conversation. And now I have all this Batum 907 product. And I've been talking freely about it. Well, I've been getting a few nasty emails about baiting bears. And I think that there's a lot of misunderstanding. And I kind of want to ask you what your guys' take is for people that may not understand it and have like a lot of misconceptions about the ethical side or the sportsmanship side, or whether, a bear baiter is less of a hunter than a spot and stock hunter kind of thing. What do you guys have a take on that?
Yeah, we both have pretty strong opinions on it.
Send me that traffic. Yeah, let's talk about it.
I'll go first. Tad's good at eloquently speaking about that stuff, but I'm more of a, emotional, wear my heart on my sleeve guy when it comes to it, because it drives me batty when somebody says, quote, you bait bears, you should try hunting them, unquote. And you're like, well, have you ever baited? And because I do all bear hunting. I hound hunt, I bait, and I spot and stalk. And I love them all, and I love them all for different reasons.
Sure.
If you've never chased some bears with dogs, you're missing out.
I know. I'd love to do that. I'd love to do that.
It's awesome. And
yeah.
And it's not easy, especially if you're the guy with the hounds. It's not easy at all to, the work goes into them much before the season starts. And, baiting's a lot of the same thing. You put in a lot of work, finding the areas, finding the bait, and, getting it all put together. And then you're packing bait. You're doing a lot of hard work before you ever step in the woods to do any hunting. And the spot and stalk's fun. That's the stuff we do when we just want to get out and enjoy the weather and, walk around and look for bears and watch bears doing, bear things. And
yeah.
So it drives me nuts when I see one faction of hunters putting down another, because we get so much, pushback from the Humane Society and all these, anti-hunting organizations, that we don't need to be hammering ourselves, and we don't need to be, elitists, where we're telling one person what they're doing is not real hunting compared to what they do. And we just need to stick together with it. But I love baiting for the fact that when we take new hunters, whether they're, 10 years old now or 90 years old, we get to sit and watch bears, and we get to explain to them, look at their ears. What is their nose doing? How are they walking? Which direction did they come from? And which way is the wind going? And then we say, that one looks like a sow. Let's wait to see if there's any, cubs with it. And most of the time they're hiding out. Well, when we're spot and stalk hunting, we don't always get that opportunity. It's sometimes these, split decisions, like, is that a boar or a sow? And you have to decide quick sometimes. Mm-hmm. And with baiting, we get to take our time. And a lot of times we have camera, pictures of them. So we know exactly what they are before we even, sit in a stand or a blind. So I like hound hunting because it gives you the opportunity to look at the bear and make sure you're shooting a good mature boar. And baiting is the same way. And you can set up a kid, with a rifle or a bow, and he has all the time in the world as long as you set it up correctly, and it's not rushed, and we get to explain things. And spot and stalk is good exercise. It's, it's great to get out and, especially if you're in your elk or deer hunting spot, you're learning the area at a different time of the year. The animals are there and you're getting to watch them, things like that. It's great scouting and hunting. So it drives me nuts that hunters go against other hunters, and Arizona just is in the midst of learning this, because a faction went after people with game cameras.
Yep.
And
same with Utah.
And it was interesting because on Facebook and these Arizona and Utah groups, half the people were like, well, if you use a game camera, you're cheating. So why don't you try hunting the old style way? the same guy that has $1,000 scope, a $2,000 rifle, and,
right.
and his range finder and all this stuff. And that's all great.
Guided missiles.
Yeah. And you're like, that's great. I commend you for having all that nice stuff, but that's not old fashioned either. And so, now that they don't have cameras, well, guess what happened? Now in Arizona, the Humane Society is going after lion hunting, bear hunting, and all predator hunting. And all the guys that were sitting around saying, why don't you try hunting? Now they're like, oh man, we better get together and fight these guys. Well, the people that just lost the battle with the game cameras are like, you know what? You told me to piss off a month ago, so why don't you piss off? I'm not helping you.
Yep.
And that's the problem.
Yeah, that's you hit it. You hit the nail on the head with that one, Jeff. And that's one of the fundamental conversations that we have on this show specifically, and actually one of the fundamental reasons why I started this show is because what you're talking about with the infighting within the hunting community itself. The baiters versus the spot and stock versus the hound guys, the bow hunters versus the rifle hunters versus the muzzleloaders, the Sitka guys versus the First Light camo versus the scree. Yeah, all these things, and boots. Boots are another freaking high tension. They're freaking boots, man. I have the type of boots I love, and if you want to take my recommendation, great. If not, I don't care. I don't know why it's worth getting in a fight. And social media amplifies this. And what you said about how we piss each other off. We're dividing amongst ourselves, and then places like the United States or the Humane Society of the United States comes in, and they're able to just pick apart little things, just eating an elephant one bite at a time, and we're losing our hunting privileges, our rights, our access to public land, our tags, our availability, all these things that are just kind of, it's like that nickel and dime topic. That's what's happening. And they're
brilliant because they find those topics that they know that hunters fight about. Amongst themselves.
Exactly. And they're well funded and they're unified. So you have like you were talking about the Humane Society. They work well with PETA. They might not have the exact same mission, but they work well with the I always screw up the name of the Center for Biological Diversity, which is a bullshit title. And so all these things, they work together, but hunters, no, we're pissed about this guy's wearing Sitka versus that guy's wearing, some other
even
camo.
If you look at some of the major, organizations and how well they work together, in hunting, they just don't. They're all about working for themselves and what their goal is instead of going, hey, how can we work with things? As a president of ISB, I worked with a lot of the organizations in the state, different groups of people, and it was fun to do. I really enjoyed it because we all really worked together well. And Idaho has that unique thing that most of the hunting organizations, from the Trappers Association to the Houndsmen to the Archers to the Idaho Wildlife Federation, to all the groups, try and do what they can to support each other.
Yeah.
And I know that I believe you had Rusty Kramer on at one point with the Trappers Association.
Sure did. Yep.
And that guy's just done a phenomenal job of working with other organizations and passing things that sometimes were not the popular thing to do, but he's trying to preserve a tradition, and he's done a really good job with it. And so for Idaho State bow hunters to support him is a no-brainer for us, because he's just trying to keep something going, and it's not hurting us at all by supporting him. In fact, it helps us in the long run.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and with Rusty has the big picture in his mind. He does a really good job. There's and I always tell people, how boring. What is the point of having a board if everybody agrees with everything 100% of the time?
Oh, amen. Yeah,
you know what I mean. What is the point? I'm on the board of IWF.
That just agreed with everything.
And
it just drives me nuts. I had one family that at one point or another, the two brothers and the father have been on the board, and every discussion they would dispute just to have a conversation. And when they got off, I was like, oh, I miss them. because I want
Great
the
point.
conversation. I want it to be there, because if everybody agrees with me all the time, and then it's my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
it's not theirs. I want to hear their opinion. I want to hear their thoughts. I want them to think outside the box. And it's back to, the bear baiting and stuff. Jeff and I will sit there and look at something and say, okay, this isn't working. Why? And have a debate of what we need to change.
Yeah,
And
we never look at something and agree on it. Rarely. I mean, we're not way off from each other, but it's always like, well, I think this is it, and I think I think this is, and we do.
We'll debate it for a couple of days, and then we'll try and change. And
And
right now,
that's okay.
one of our baits has become 10 times more successful because Jeff's like, no, we need to do this. And I'm like, what? No, this has been working. He's like, no, it's not working well enough. And it has been night and day from that change. We just changed where the stand was. And it was a 20-yard change. And it has, just absolutely, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Sitting there, we know we're going to see a bear every night.
Yeah. I sat there one night with Tad, and he was trying to shoot one with his traditional bow, and a bear walks up, and we almost got a shot, and it ran off, and I thought, man, that was close. And then I sat with my daughter a different night, and same thing kept happening, and I was like, okay, Tad,
we got to change something up.
When I get upset or, like aggravated, that's when I do my best thinking. I got to fix something. And so I told him, I was like, it's your bait. Take it for what it's worth. But if we move that stand about 20 yards and the barrel, I guarantee you it's gonna light that thing up.
And that's the thing, is you can't be stubborn to think that what you're doing is right if it's not working. And we watch so many people, well, I got bears at night. I got bears at night. I got bears at night. And it goes back to that scent control. Where's your scent at? What's going on? Bears, we actually had this discussion within the last couple of days of people going, well, the bears come in at 8 o'clock. So I get there, 7:30. Well, those bears are patrolling around your bait for an hour to 2 hours before you get there, or before they come in. And so they know to look for you. Yeah. They have great noses. They're smart. They're the smartest animal in the woods.
They are, man. Out of all, we have some crazy feedback and delays going on. I'll try to fix some of that, but just so the audience knows, we're not purposely cutting each other off. We do have a slight delay here, which is typical for my North Idaho internet here. So anyway, it's interesting you say that, Tad, because they really are. They really are for me, when I'm out in the woods, I see a lot, and I mean a lot of bear sign, but I rarely see them. The only time I actually see bears is when I accidentally just kind of catch a glance at one that is hanging in a tree watching me walk by. And that's happened 4 or 5 times. So you think about that with as much time as I spend in the woods, how many bears have I walked by that were watching me that I didn't notice? So
thousands.
Yeah, thousands. It's got to be thousands. Like and they are. It's funny. You can actually. It's just pure luck. I caught him out of the corner of my eye. I saw just a little black smidge up there, and I noticed him. And we're going to dive into what you're talking about with the scent control and everything else that goes into, specifically bear baiting. But I want to kind of circle back to a couple things that you had mentioned, Tad, in terms of the infighting amongst hunters and the bear baiting versus other ways to tag out on with your bear or whatever. Kind of expand on that a little bit. Can you expand on that?
I agree with Jeff 1,000% on the how much it irritates us with the people going, the bear baiting is not hunting. We already touched on you don't throw out 8 donuts and they come running in. It's really not like, setting out a buffet and bears just run in fast. I just said they're smart. They're very smart. To be able to take a bear that's over 5 years old really is tough. To get one over 10, man, you've done a great job. You tricked a bear that has lived out there for 10 years.
Yep.
And knows everything that's going on in those woods. So to do that is, I mean, realistically, we do that every few years. And my goal every year is just to be able to see a big boar. If I get a big boar in, then I get to see whether or not someone's there that's going to shoot it. That's a successful year to me. Getting them on camera, yeah, it's fun and cool, but being able to see one, great. Last year we were able to take some nice bears. It was a little crazy year for success. We were able to take 5 bears off of one bait. That were all great bears.
On monster, 6 sets.
Yeah, 6 sets.
On you said 6 sets there.
We sat in the tree stand 6 times.
Maybe somebody's got their speaker up super loud, but it's coming back into the mic. I apologize about that. But once okay, now it's gone. So anyway,
it's probably me because I'm deaf.
I was just gonna say it's Tad. He's deaf, so.
Okay.
That's the other problem with the bear bait. Jeff's like, do you hear that? Hear what? Huh? What's going on? There's no walking blows. What?
Like,
what are you talking about?
I am legitimately, I'm almost all deaf in my left ear because of the Marine Corps. And so I feel the pain, Tad. No sweat on that. The one question I have for you two, before we get into some of the more strategic stuff, is how come you guys don't like pronghorn hunting?
Oh, yeah. Well, because Jeff can't see them. He has trouble actually finding them as they come in. That's his struggle in life, is that we've tried optics and spotting scopes, and they come to the water hole and drink, and he just can't pick them out.
You guys are a lot of fun, actually. It's really funny because I've talked to multiple people and they're like, oh, you need to get Tad Sherman on, or you need to get Jeff Morris on, but actually you got to get them on together. You can't just have one on. You got to have them both on. And that's been the drumbeat from multiple people. This is not just one recommendation. The recommendation was getting both Tad and Jeff on at the same time to talk about bear baiting and talk about pronghorn hunting. And I want to, before we get into the nuts and bolts of the bear baiting, Tad, let's start with you. What is your best piece of pronghorn hunting archery advice?
Don't stop at the first water hole you find. Most people, when they're hunting pronghorn, go out and they want the easiest access they can get to. And they spend zero. I mean, they go out to the water hole. They hear that this is the best spot to go to in this area, and they find a water hole and they stop there, and they end up with competition or other trail riders, user groups out there doing stuff. Go out and spend some extra time looking. Over the years, I'm a little bit fanatical about it. I think I have, I've lost count, but I think I'm over 13 water holes that I've been to out in the Hawaii desert. And just check them out, see which ones I like, see which ones aren't good. And I have backups for if mine ever failed or I need to move or something happens. But people just don't spend the time and effort scouting. They want to go to the easiest place. They found one. They think it's good. It may or may not be good. And it may be worse because you have more people out there. In August 14th, you have 200 people out in the Waihees looking for their water hole or going out to their water hole, and it's going to push animals around. They can move. They can move for a long ways.
Tad, are the Waihees, is that a draw tag for pronghorn? I'm not super familiar with Southern Idaho.
Yes, all pronghorn in Idaho is draw now.
Oh, it is. So, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, years ago when I started pronghorn hunting, you could just go buy a tag over the counter. And then about 2001, things started to change where it was about 275 to 300 people hunted pronghorn. And then about 2008, it was up to 900. So the commission decided to reduce the number of tags and change it to a 200 for archery. Rifles, as long as I've known, it's been a draw tag. But archery, they changed it 200 early tags, then unlimited tag. And then just this year, the unlimited tag is first choice only now. because we've again increased the number of bow hunters trying to get out there and hunt pronghorn. So they're trying to reduce those numbers and reduce conflicts. The last couple of years, we've had some pretty bad issues with one of the major landowners out there where people are using their property improperly, and they've been really great over the years with allowing access on their land.
With that, Tad, what is using the land improperly? Can you expand on that real quick? Because I that's important stuff right there.
Closing gates, not closing gates, putting up 2 to 3 blinds on a water hole where the cattle are trying to water, guys pushing the cattle off the water, and then the worst one is there's a cow camp out there in the middle of nowhere that the guy actually had broke in and was sleeping in the building. And
gosh,
when the cow boss showed up, asked him, "Is there anything I can help you guys with? What's wrong?" And didn't want to leave, and literally had the balls to call and ask for permission to use it again.
Jeez, man. Yeah, that kind of behavior is going to be the death of us.
That we all know the name of them, and they've been fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And talking with the guy that manages their hunting on it, he's upset. He's like, I don't know if I want to continue letting people on the property. And it's
I don't blame him.
It's simple land.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame him. It's that kind of stuff is people don't understand. I grew up in central Utah where we had these ranches where we're running cows and sheep and closing gates and making sure that the gate thing is a big deal. And I like the culture of it. Like if you were the youngest, most unsalty person in the truck, you were opening the gate and you were waiting for the truck, and then you stood out there and you closed it. And so I was pretty excited the first time we went out on the ranch and we're doing this and that. And anyway, we finally got to take my little brother, and I was not the guy that had to get out, open the gate, and wait to close it. It's a big deal. So, I mean, people, the lack of respect on especially private hunting or private property, that's going to be the death of hunters, that kind of stuff right there, for sure.
It works great because I use my back after years of roofing as an excuse. So I always drive. So Jeff has to get the gate.
Well, he caught on because the first two times.
He falls for that still.
The first 2 times we went out, Tad got out and I told him just to wait, close it when I leave. Well, I was planning on hunting for a couple of days, so that poor guy sat at that gate waiting for me for 2 days.
Oh man! All right, Jeff. Let's go to you, man. Let's talk about your number one pronghorn hunting advice. I'd love to do a full episode about pronghorn at some point.
This is going to be good. Hey Jeff, what's your best advice on hunting pronghorn?
Best advice for pronghorn.
Go to Wyoming.
Pick your friends better. I couldn't kill an antelope in Idaho forever. I mean, I tried and tried. I was like the guy Tad said. I found a good water hole, and it was really good until hunting season got there, and then it was everybody's water hole because everybody knew it was right off the road, and so I didn't know what I was doing. I went to Wyoming and killed my first one spot and stock hunting with a bow. And because as my luck would have it, it rained for like 6 days straight. And so sitting at a water hole in Wyoming was not an option. So I spot and stalked them with my bow, got one, and then came back to Idaho, and I was still very unsuccessful. And finally, through Tad, I met a friend, and he invited me to his water hole. And so my best piece of advice is if you don't know what you're doing, find a good friend that knows what he's doing.
Dig it. All right. There you have it.
It comes down to location. And now that I've done it, I've shot several now. It's the time, go out to the desert and find those water holes and watch them. You don't have to sit on them, just watch them. And if they have antelope coming in, it's a good place to start.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's a great point. And the antelope are fun. I have hunted them in Wyoming one time, but unsuccessfully. So we don't have them up north, man. So I haven't chased antelope for a long time.
No offense, but no offense, but if you went to Wyoming and you weren't successful, then you probably aren't going to have much luck in Idaho. So you can just
Yeah,
start
I
bear hunting.
agree. I actually, I mean, I'll just fess up. I kind of got distracted with some of the fishing over there, and I ended up fly fishing, more than I was antelope hunting, because I really didn't know what I was doing, and I was by myself, so I just didn't, a few days, and then I was just catching fish the rest of the time. So whatever.
No,
but
it's I agree. Wyoming is a beautiful place.
It is. I know. Don't get me started on Wyoming, because I love Wyoming. My wife and I were supposed to move to Wyoming at one point, and the wind and the weather chased her away, because so we're looking, and there was this news article that she found on the internet that was like, it said, "Oh, a kid got attacked by a moose waiting at the bus stop," right? And that is what the turning point was. And this was years ago. This was when we were stuck in Utah, and I had a job opportunity in Wyoming pop up. And so anyway, I'm actually glad, because Idaho, you can't beat Idaho, right? But Wyoming has, for a hunter, I mean, come on. So she got scared away by this moose attack at the bus stop, where the kid got bruised by a cow moose that had a calf with her or whatever. But now, where we live, we, on a consistent basis, have moose coming through the property. When the kids were a little younger, I'd have to go out and do a moose check on our property to make sure there were no moose out there. So we didn't gain anything. So let's switch gears, guys, and start talking about baiting, and come at this from, I want to come at this a little differently than I usually do with a lot of these podcasts, in terms of as we're talking. I want to come at this from like a total beginner, somebody that doesn't know anything about baiting bears and hunting bears, what to expect, all these things that go into a successful bear hunt when we're talking about bait. Can we start with the really good topic? Tad, actually, I think you both have brought it up a little bit. Let's talk about the wind and scent control, and then we'll kind of take it from there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And, whoever wants to kick us off, Tad, do you want to kick us off with kind of a overview on scent?
They don't look at the wind as much as they should for bear, on multiple reasons. So that's why I'm kind of bouncing around there. The first thing is, people go and set a bait where they can. They go up above the road or down below the road, and they're setting their bait somewhere that's close enough that hounds can actually smell it. People try and get mad at the houndsmen and, say that they're causing a problem with baiters. 99% of the problems with houndsmen finding bait is because somebody put their bait where the hounds are going to smell it. They're going to do their job.
Well, can I stop you right there, Dad? When you say that, are you talking about when people are setting their bait maybe too close to the road? Because usually, aren't the houndsmen kind of running the roads until they pick up on scent, and then going from there? And so that's the issue, right?
Yeah, and that becomes an issue. These hounds are trained, or just natural ability to smell a bear. They can smell. It's the same thing as bird hunting with a dog. My dog can smell birds at 70, 80, 100 yards away. Bears smell much more than birds. And if they've crossed the road in the last hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, those hounds are going to smell them. And so these guys set their baits uphill from the road. And, the morning thermals are dragging it down to the road. Bear was at the bait a couple hours prior to that. Those hounds are going to smell it. It's not the houndsman's fault. He doesn't know the bait's there. I mean, if he keeps coming back and hitting it, that's not cool. But most times they're like, run up and like, oh, well, sorry, guy, I didn't know your bait was here, and it's in a really dumb spot. So trying to put your bait over the hill, somewhere where it's not going to hit a road, is really important. You can't have the bears crossing the road. You can't have the bears, being upwind or downwind of the road where the thermals are going to change and the hounds are going to find them. Your scent, when you get to a bait, like we just said, we had to change this one because there was just a scent issue on our bait. And Jeff called it, and, while it took us a little time to change it, it absolutely changed what was happening with the bait. We had it about 100 yards different prior to that, and it worked really well until the local outfitter found our bait and started hunting off of it.
Whoa,
Another issue.
That we got to talk about that for a minute. You had a local outfitter find your bait, and he started setting clients on it, or what?
One bait, yes, he did set clients on it. I had 2 baits up there, and we were hunting one. Heard the shot off the other bait, went over there, and his guide got quite mouthy and used a lot of profanity about how he wasn't hunting off the bait, even though he was 50 yards over the hill from my bait.
Were they rifle?
Yes, rifle.
Rifle.
Yeah.
God,
So he's been an issue up there. That has been an issue. There are some outfitters out there that they're so worried about getting a bear, they don't care if they're going to mess with the rest of the people.
God, that's bullshit, man. That's the kind of stuff that needs to be brought to the forefront more often. Like that is bullshit. I don't care if you're an outfitter or not. Like you don't have a right to somebody else's bait. And actually, Jess Gann and I had a long talk about kind of along those lines with it, because I was giving her shit. I was like, well, maybe you can just set up on somebody else's. I don't remember. I said something sarcastic, knowing it was totally wrong, but she took it serious, man. She's like, no, you don't do that. You know what I mean? And so, anyways,
and she's fun to chat with. That she knows a ton about bear baiting.
Oh yeah.
She has years and years of experience with it, and has helped so many people with it. Even when getting her product, there's so many people that Jeff and I both love her product and use it. And so many people are like, my God, I spent an hour and a half on the phone with her. I learned so much from her. Like, yep, she will teach you.
Yeah, she's and that's the nice thing with her. She's willing to share her knowledge, and I mean, I'm convinced, man, with this Batum 907 stuff, because I got a couple of boxes delivered via FedEx or whatever, and my entire house and my entire shop smelled of bear bait. Super interesting how actually I won't go there. Let's circle back. Okay.
Wait, did she tell you we were assholes? Because that's true.
You know what? She did. She's like, oh my God. Yeah, she didn't say asshole, but she's like, you got to get those two on. They make fun of each other worse than they do anybody else, and they're a lot to handle, man. I don't know. You should get them on and try it though. Apparently, you guys went hunting up there in Alaska.
Yes, we got to stop by and visit with her and hang out, and she got to put up with us for a couple of days, and it was absolutely wonderful.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, that'd be a ball. Did you guys get a bear up there?
We were in bear hunt. We were looking for moose, and ended up with just a phenomenal fishing trip.
Oh, nice.
The fly fishing for the silvers on a dry fly ended up grabbing our attention, so we focused on that for quite a few days.
Sweet, man. God, that'd be a ball. Next time you guys go up there, you got to hit me up. I'll go with you. You're like,
yeah, it was.
We don't let.
You've never seen anything until you've seen a salmon hit a topwater.
Yeah, I'll bet for sure.
It is absolutely amazing.
All right, we keep getting off topic here, and that was my fault. I actually spilled my drink all over my soundboard here, but it's good. It's working. So anyway, going back to the way that I think a lot of people learn when we're talking about offering your advice and things, and obviously so the audience knows. In terms of for me coming at this from very much a beginner in regards to the bear baiting, if I were to, of all the people that I know and follow and watch and all those things, that when it comes to bear baiting, if I could pick a couple of mentors out, it would be you two. And that the reason I say that is because you guys are legitimately successful, not only for yourselves, but you take a lot of people out and mentor them, and they become successful. And so that's an interesting dynamic that you don't see very often. You don't see it very, it's always kind of it's just one of those things. A lot of people talk a big game. You guys actually get it done for the people you're mentoring and yourselves, and you guys also have a lot of fun doing it, and that's important because a lot of people take the fun out of hunting when they kind of take it to that next level, and they just they're doing it more for social media content than anything, and there's no fun in it anymore. You guys don't have that. You don't have that dynamic, and so I'm saying that just so the audience knows. Essentially what it all boils down to, you guys have a lot of credibility on this topic. So I want to come at this from the way I always ask it in a sense of like, what do you think, in your opinion, how do hunters mess it up scent wise when we're talking about bears? What's the biggest like 2 or 3 things they do that screw it up in terms of having the bears wind them, scent them, whatever?
Yeah, Tad's hit on it a couple times. So I like to, especially if it's a new bait. I mean, I know people like to get up in the morning and head out for the day to find a bait and set it up. But if you've never been there before, it's a really good idea to set up a bait around the time that you're going to be hunting it. Get done, in the evening, to where if you don't know what the thermals are in the area, and then the prevailing winds coming down the canyon or up the canyon, if you've got a water source like a creek or a river, it's going to be creating its own wind too. And so a lot of people set it up in a great spot, but maybe their barrel is where their tree stand should be, or something's just slightly not right. So be there when you would be hunting so you can learn it, and then figure out where the bears come from. And that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Jeff, like, how do you know where the bears are coming from?
I always say don't set up a bait if you don't see any bear sign, right? So, I mean, it sounds obvious, but with Tad, you have to point out the obvious a lot. So you gotta like say, okay, what do they like to do? Well, they like to sleep in the deep cover, and they love water. They love standing in the water. They love drinking it. They love laying next to the water because it's cool. So most of the time when a bear is coming into the bait, it's coming from where it was sleeping or drinking just prior to, and most of the time those are very close in proximity.
How close are we talking? How when you say they're close in proximity to sleeping, feeding, watering, what is that in your opinion?
There's a couple of our baits are right by water, and every bear comes up and they've got wet legs. So that tells you they're crossing the water or standing in it just prior to coming to the bait.
Maybe 100, maybe 200 yards kind of thing.
Yeah, and some bears, I've come up in the willows right alongside the creek, and they're laying in there, and they can't hear you because of the water, and you walk up and they're just laying there sleeping, and so that's their bedding area. And so I always just tell people, if you're not sure, just assume that the bears are coming from the water up to your bait. And so you want to make sure you're not sitting right above your bait to where the wind's blowing straight down. Preferably, one thing I picked up from Tad was he had a bait right in a little draw. The bait wasn't in the draw, but there was a draw, and the 2 little ridge lines fingers were about 20 yards away. So the bait was on one little finger and his tree stand was on the other. So when those thermals came at night, his scent was going down into one draw, behind him, and the bait was going down the other. So when the bear came up behind the bait, there was no chance that, they were going to smell us. And that was a great idea, because I always used to pick like more of a flat spot or, a flat hillside. And it was hard to, because those bears will circle, and it's hard to get your scent going anywhere but just straight down in the evening time.
Mm-hmm.
So find those little variations in the terrain, but always assume that those bears are sleeping and drinking, in the dark stuff below the bait. And don't set the bait where they have to walk through a big open clearing to get there, because most bears, especially the big ones, aren't going to walk up, at 4 or 5 in the afternoon and walk across just a wide open hillside. They want to stay in that cover.
Man,
And
that's a
if
great
they've got
point.
cover the whole way, they're going to, be very comfortable. And so assume they're coming from the below, and make sure there's water below you, and make sure that wind's not, your scent isn't going to be blowing straight down if they just were coming straight up to the bait from below it. And those thermals will obviously, right as it starts switching, that's when they swirl. And those are just things you have to kind of deal with, either get high in the tree or, close up your blind to where the wind's not passing through.
And those thermals are also important when you're not there to carry the scent. You want that scent to go for as far as it possibly can. And with that 907, we use the bait balls where they go, and fortunately we have Jeff's son who likes to climb trees, and he'll go up there 30, 40 yards up in a tree, and to the point where we're like, dude, you're too high. And he's like, no, I got this. And he'll put them clear up there, but it'll cover the entire canyon.
Yeah.
We've even had one guy that was baiting below us, and he's like, yeah, I know when you guys put in your bait because I don't have any bears anymore.
What would an episode of the Western Huntsman podcast be without me mentioning our sponsors that make this show possible? Guys, check out Phelps Game Calls, probably our oldest sponsor. And Phelps Game Calls is one of those companies that inspires me and inspires a lot of people because it started in a garage, and now it's one of the leading call companies in the industry. So I don't care if you're going out to call turkeys, I don't care if you're going out to call in bears or coyotes, or obviously the number one mainstay of Phelps Game Calls, bugling in the mighty Wapiti. That's right, that's my favorite game calls. For me, I use the Renegade and the Maverick and the Phelps Pink signature call. I love all these calls, whether you're using diaphragms, you need bugle tubes, you need external calls. They have it all. They have deer calls. They're coming out with new stuff all the time. And Phelps Game Calls are all manufactured right here in the United States. Started by a really cool dude that's been on the show a few times. His name is Jason Phelps. It's one of those companies that you could just trust. You can count on. The gear, the products are great. They're American made and they're ready to go. Get on PhelpsGameCalls.com and check out all the calls that are available. And don't forget to use promo code Huntsman10 for 10% off of your Phelps Game Call order. Next, we got Scree Gear, another one of the OG sponsors of the Western Huntsman podcast. Guys, I love Scree Gear. You got to check out Scree Gear. If you're running around the woods in some Walmart camo or something because you think that high-end technical hunting apparel is too expensive, you haven't been on the Scree Gear website. I love the hard scrabble pants. You know what? They got these Bridger glassing mitts, and I'm telling you, they will change your life. I've got a pair of these Bridger glassing mitts, and they're just freaking incredible. They kept me on the mountain this last winter a lot longer than I usually would because my hands are like one of the first things that goes cold when I'm sitting there just glassing up, whether I'm wolf hunting or whatever. You got to check out the Bridger glassing mitts. It's like one of my favorite things that they've got. And they're also coming out with a new camo pattern. It's available right now for pre-order, but they've also got the other patterns still available. Jump on there and check out Scree because this company backs up their stuff. It's got a lifetime warranty. It's also got the VIP sizing guarantee, which means if you order up a pair of pants, or let's say you get the hard scrabble vest and it doesn't fit right, it comes with a pre-packaged return slip that you just throw on the package and send it back, and they send you the right size. You can't beat it. Guys, the price point of Scree in comparison to the other high-end technical apparel that's available out there will blow your mind. Check it out. ScreeGear.com. Promo code The Western Huntsman for 15% off and free shipping. Tactacam is the final one on this list today. Folks, if you are interested in or have done in the past filming your hunts, you've got to check out the Tactacam. I use the Tactacam 5.0. I've got a few of them, and I can control like 2 or 3 of them from my app. They're super cool to get those POV or just filming your hunt in general, which I highly recommend because you could really kind of coach yourself and learn some of the mistakes that maybe you're not paying attention to in the field when you're out there, especially like calling in that big bull. Get it on camera. Get it on film so you can go back and watch it. That's what I do, and it's made me a better hunter. And there's no better way to do that than with Tactacam. Tactacam has got all the attachments. You could do a head harness. You could do a flex clamp. You could attach it to your shoulder. You could mount it to your weapon where that's legal in different states and different units. So make sure you're checking that and get all these different angles and film your hunt and put it, whether you want to put it on YouTube to get put out the big time hunting content, or you just want to keep it for yourself for memories. Tactacam has you covered. They've also got the reveal cell cam, which I love. It'll send you pictures in real time and let you know what's going on, whether you're managing property for like whitetails or whatever. I use it to kind of as security on my property. If I've got riffraff coming on the property, I'll know about it immediately. Also, if I have a grizzly bear wandering on the property, I know not to just send the kids out. Love that reveal cell cam. You guys got to get you one of those. We're going to have some really cool giveaways coming up with Tactacam, so stay tuned for that, because they also have other things like the film through scope. You can film right through the scope, whether you're target shooting or hunting, get that shot in. Again, check your state regulations, whether or not that's legal or not. Either way, go to tactacam.com, check it out, and stay tuned for some really kick-ass giveaways coming down the pike from Tactacam. So let's get back into it. Here we go. So,
because they end up at ours.
On that note, when let's talk about. I want to get to the scent balls because I have a couple of those and I'm pretty interested in them. But before we get to that point,
I'm glad you have both of them.
I'm glad you have the balls.
It works out. It works out in the end.
Your wife lets you borrow them for the podcast?
Every once in a while, she releases them, and I've got them. So, okay, let's say you guys pull up, right, and you've never been up this particular drainage or on this mountain, and you're looking for a place to set a barrel. What are some things you're looking for? Obviously we talked about, that kind of triad of water, food, all that kind of stuff, cover. What are you looking for? The specific spot to set a barrel. What does that look like to you guys?
Can we get, first of all, can we get to it without walking between them and the barrel? So some people set up a barrel because they're like, oh, this is great. There was trees all scratched up and torn up. There was bear scat, there was this and that and the other. And they set it up, and then when they go to hunt it, the bear's sleeping right below them or, somewhere right nearby, and they walk by them to get to the barrel. Well, the bears always sleep near a trail coming in or out, at places they like to visit because they can smell, even when they're sleeping, they'll smell you. And they don't blow out of there. You never know it. They just get up and walk off, and
yeah,
you'll
they're
never
just
see them
gone.
that night.
Yeah, never see them.
Yeah, and so find a place where, if you're doing it right, you're getting there in the middle of the day, and the thermal should be coming up the hill, and they should be consistent. So find a place where you can get to the barrel and never have that wind go down to that water. You're not walking through the creek bottom, or you're not doing anything like that to where that scent's going to carry. It's got to be a place that they don't know you're coming in, because a bear, like Dad said, they're smart and they sleep in places where they can smell things, and then they check things out. They always check things out. So, man,
that's tough, because you're talking about when you're coming in, you're talking about when thermals are going up, but they're sleeping in the, maybe the bottom of the darkest part of the drainage. And yep. By the time they're ready to get up and start feeding, which I always, I never see bears, with the exception, or I'm sorry, I never see bears before 3 p.m. That for me, very rarely. And that's probably different for you guys and other people out there. But for me, there's only been a couple of occasions that I've actually seen bears before 3 p.m. And so I don't know if there's something to that, other than to say when you're coming, when you're going to a bait site, the thermals are going up. And then by the time that bear's ready to get up and start moving, those thermals are switching about, depending on the time of year, 4 or 5, 6 o'clock, and going down. And so you're good coming in because those thermals are still going up. But by the time he's ready to get up and start moving around, those thermals have shifted. How do you calculate that? How do you kind of deal with that? Does that make sense? How I'm asking that?
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. So that's what I was saying is, so, when those thermals start coming in, that air gets cold and it starts sinking, and it's going to follow, that natural, easiest path down.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the things I learned from Tad that really helped me was find those little terrain variances, and they don't have to be big, but when they're coming up from behind that barrel, maybe it's going down into that little swell, into that little draw. And then if you're bow hunting, you're 20 to 30 yards away, and that scent's coming into this other, the other side on the other back side of the finger that they were coming up on. It's never perfect. Because
that makes sense.
So Jeff and I learned this a few years ago. I've got one friend that we take her hunting with us, and Jeff and I went up and sat one night and had 7 bears come in, and we, just had fun with it and watched the bears. The next night I took her up with us, and we didn't see a single bear. And then Jeff and I went up the next night and had 7 bears come in again. The only difference was scent control on the person.
What do you mean by, Tad, explain scent control on the person?
Yeah, so if you're wearing clothes that you wore to work and then you go sit on your bear bait, you have more. You've got more scent. Even using, and I love all the, and I swear by this because it's worked. The Arm & Hammer sensitive skin, no scent, type of stuff works just as well as going and buying the, $20 a 10-ounce bottle stuff at Sportsman's Warehouse to keep your clothes clean.
Yeah.
But you've got it. No perfumes, no hairsprays, no.
I'm out.
Deodorants. I mean, I literally shower with scent-free soap entire bear season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's our rule with each other is as soon as bear season gets here, just start using the scent-free shampoo, the scent-free body soap, and the scent-free clothes wash.
And the deodorant, right?
And the deodorant. And like he said, that Arm & Hammer stuff is pennies compared to the, hunting stuff. And we do that every day, no matter if we're going hunting or not. Most people are like, well, I'm going to bear hunt, so I'm going to scent-free shower today. Well, but yesterday you put on the, your Axe
I like
body
my Axe
spray.
body spray because it makes me sexy.
Yeah, he likes to go crossfitting and whatever else. So
you hipster.
That's our rule. And when Tad and I go, I mean, we're up in the tree stand laughing, and Tad's trying to get handsy with me, and I got to slap the hand. We're making a lot of noise, and so it's the scent. The scent is always it.
Okay. Go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off there.
I go to work, and I shower in the morning, and my work clothes were washed, in the scent-free stuff. Everything I wash is scent-free. And then that way I don't have, work clothes on that were, soapy. And then I go hunting, and I put on my hunting clothes that were scent-free. And we do spray down with the scent-free spray, just to keep our sweat down and everything else.
Sure.
And
do you carry that scent-free stuff to the stand with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because when we go in, sometimes, later in that spring season, it's 80 degrees, and you're going to be sweating. And so we soak our hats, because it will soak up the sweat. So we soak our hats and our shirts and everything else.
Okay, good to know, because that's a touchy one. Like, I don't use scent products I wear my regular Old Spice cheap deodorant during elk season, right? But I'm moving a lot, and I'm watching the wind like crazy. But when I switch and let's say I'm hunting whitetail instead of mule deer, scent becomes a big deal for me. And so I use the old fashioned UV trick where I leave my clothes outside in exposed to the sun, and that actually does a really good job. And then instead of here's one thing I think people mess up a lot when we're talking about scent control, and one day you're using Irish Spring in the shower, but then the next day you're going hunting, so you use the no scent. That's going to be inappropriate. Use the non-scented. 100%. Yeah. Use the non-scented, and it drives my wife crazy because I will not wash my hands with like she buys these, frou-frou, lavender kissed by the Lord's angel soap, whatever. in the kitchen or whatever, and she's like, wash your hands. Well, I'm going upstairs because that's where my no scent stuff is. And it's only during like whitetail season when I'm sitting in the stand. When
All
I say
of bear
stand,
season.
yeah, and same with, so based on what you guys have told me, that's going to be the same for all of bear season. So that's
Yeah.
what I want to express to people that are listening. It's not today we're wearing Irish Spring, or I'm sorry, bathing with Irish Spring, and the next day we're gonna wash down with the no scent. It doesn't work like that. That commercialized big box store type kind of fragrance soap will stay on you for multiple days, even when you think it's gone. So use
We
the
have one friend that
non-scent.
does that, and he even elk hunts like that, but he really thinks he has to smell pretty all the time. And I've taken him up bear hunting, and I'm like, dude, you literally smell like Axe body spray. He's like, well, I've been doing scent free all week. I'm like, but the rest of the year, you
Yeah.
put on gallons of this stuff to the point where your skin is stained with it.
Okay, so Tad, I was telling you that one of the reasons I was delayed getting on the podcast today is my house is on the market, right? And so
Yes.
I'm waiting. Where I'm waiting out, hiding in my neighbors. I use my neighbor's property. They'll let me park over there. I waited for the people that were looking at the house to leave. So I go back. I finally see them pull out of the driveway. I drive over. I go in the house, and my nose hairs about fell out of my nose because somebody was wearing this stink pretty that I don't even know how to identify it, but my whole house smelled. Whoever was looking at my house to buy it, they're wearing this stuff, and I think that what people don't understand is that kind of like it like secretes into your skin, and if you sweat, it'll come out like a week later. You know what I mean? And so
and Jeff and I will be at the point where it's like, okay, I did not do enough tonight, so you go down there because you took more precautions, especially with his work. I live closer to where we bear bait, so there's been a lot of times he stops by and leave a little early, but he showers here to make sure that he's scent free as much as he possibly can be. And people don't get that with bears. I was actually watching one of the hunting shows the other day and watched where a bear literally lifted his nose at 800 yards, smelled, and just turned and walked off.
in your opinion, do they smell better than elk?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Well, no question on that.
I don't know if that's an opinion. That's probably there's probably some scientific evidence that'll prove that one way or the other. I just don't know. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, and Jess has the numbers on how strong they can smell. I think at one point she had said they could smell something up to 4 miles away. They could distinguish different scents.
That's crazy.
They're the smartest animals in the woods.
Tad and I can tell you, on the way to the bear bait, if we're taking somebody, whether we're going to be successful or not, because when you're used to just being completely scent free, my kids like to hunt, and so they're always scent free too during season, and his as well. When you get in the car with somebody, you can smell it. You're like you said, your nose, you're like, okay, you know what? Probably not going to happen today. But you let it ride, you take them, and then you get to have that talk on the way home. Like, look, it's nothing personal. It's just here. We go through all this work, so why not take that extra step and make sure that we're scent free? And I took it for granted, or I was over cocky. I found a really good spot to hunt about 12 years ago, and we called it the honey hole. And my son was. He's just about to turn,
what are the coordinates?
Hunt and stuff. Yeah, I'll send them.
Yeah, you can have them. You might be sitting on somebody's deck now.
Yeah. Never mind, man. Never mind.
How the state, everybody wants the state to control our land because they know best. Well, they got control of it, and then they sold it. So we're sitting there, and I told my son, before school, hey, we're bear hunt. I'm going to come pick you up. We're bear hunting, so scent free. Soap, clothes soap, body soap, deodorant, everything. And I go pick him up from school a little early. We drive, it's 2.5 hours. We drive up there. We get in the tree stand, and just like clockwork, at 6:30, this bear comes in, and he's walking in, and all of a sudden he gets right to where he can smell, and he stops. flares his nose up and just kind of does this real slow circle, with his nose in the air, stops right where he's, right looking at us, and then he just turned and took off.
Jeez.
And it was at that point, I was like, I looked at him and I said, you didn't scent free shower, did you? And he said, I did, but I used my regular deodorant because I want to smell nice.
So there is never, ever a question if you see a bear whether or not he smells you.
Yeah.
Because he will lower his head, those nostrils will flare. He will turn his head very slowly in the direction, and then he's just gone.
Yep.
He will run the direction his head is pointed and just be gone.
It's crazy.
And you know they smell you.
You can, that they're a lot like Tad. They're deaf. They can't see well, but they can smell really well. So you have to just play the nose and forget about the vision.
I don't actually smell well either.
No, you don't smell well.
I can see well. So, my smell and hearing is bad, but I can see.
Okay, so that's going to be a big takeaway for me personally, listening to this. Like, I wouldn't have thought some of this to that extreme. I think about that if I'm setting, I took the kids out for a whitetail hunt this last fall. And that was a big thing was the scent control, because that's totally different than hunting mule deer. And I'm a mule deer guy from way back. That's what I grew up on. So this whitetail thing and learning this whole scent control has been kind of this newfound thing over the last, 4 or 5 years for me. And we talked about it and we worked on it. And so for bears, that's going to be an interesting thing. And that's what I want people in the audience to take away is, don't wear Old Spice on Friday if you're going bear hunting on Saturday.
You've hunted elk, right?
Occasionally.
You've hunted elk?
Yep.
Okay. Once or twice. You've heard about these animals.
I've heard about them.
They're mythical up north, I hear.
They make noise.
Elk, you try and trick their nose, especially when archery hunting. Or you try and make sure they don't smell you.
Yeah, I don't trick them. I just stay out of it.
Do the due diligence of making sure it's safe that a bear will do by 1,000-fold. Bears will search you out. They will circle you. And they're quiet. They don't make any noise. You don't know that they're coming. It makes your scent control for elk look pathetic.
Mm-hmm. I'll bet. I would agree with that. I would totally agree with that. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, you can't just move your tree stand when the wind shifts or the bear's coming in from a different spot, right? You can't, with elk hunting, you get to play the wind. With bear hunting, you are where you are because you can't just move. And so you really do have to make sure that, like I said, I didn't hunt tree stands much before I hunted with Tad because I'm afraid of heights. And the other guy I hunted with loved to put the tree stand like 35 feet up in the air.
Jeez.
And
I got a buddy, Troy, who does that. He sets those tree stands super high, and I'm a roofer, and I don't want to get up that high in a tree.
Yeah. And so I did the ground blind game, and I had a ground blind where it was so thick, it was 7 yards when I bow hunted. It was 7 yards from the bait. Now, obviously, they're going to come in at some angle and smell you. And so I learned just close the whole thing down, except for the one looking right at the barrel where you can shoot out of. And it sucks because you hear them coming and they're right next to you and you can hear them breathing. And I've even had them push their nose into the back of the blind and, bump me in my back while I'm sitting there. But if you open up 2 windows, that air is going to pass through. And so you have to just make accommodations and take it very serious. People just don't take it as serious as they should. And it's the one thing that will educate a bear. Like last year, took my son's fiance, her very first big game hunt. And we sat in the tree stand. And we had 2 bears come in, and both of them walked up in the same spot and huffed at us for the rest of the night. They knew we were there. They were staring at us, but we couldn't do anything about it. And that's where Tad and I, that's where that experience comes in, because we've seen it 1,000 times because we've screwed up ourselves, where those bears the next night, they'll come up to the same spot and they'll peek up at that tree stand and sniff. They'll circle it. but you'll see them. They come up, they'll stand on their hind legs and look up at the tree stand.
Oh,
And if
wow.
they see you,
Crazy.
I had
they see
one
you,
that would literally do it from 60 yards away, and he would sit up there and he'd almost wave at me with his paw, like, "Hey, dude, I'm over here." I mean, I named the bears, so that was Ronaldo. He was
Ronaldo.
He never got shot.
Where did Ronaldo come from?
We have different names for bears. They just randomly.
Just randomly come. Okay, so it's just a random thing.
Bondi,
Ronaldo.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
Ronaldo was smarter than all of us. He's still hopefully out there enjoying his life.
So when that happens, now you do have to get mobile. You have to do something. So that next time, we purposely kind of made a little noise coming into the bait, and I kind of clanged the tree stand just a little bit, but we set up the ground blind about 20, 30 yards behind the tree stand, because I knew that bear was going to come in, look at the tree stand, and say, "Oh, they're not here." And that's exactly what happened. And it's funny because when you've beat a bear, a big bear or a little bear, you have, because they come running into that bait for the first time. Normally they kind of creep in. But when they look at that tree stand and they say, "Oh, that's where he was last night," and they just come running in because you're not there. And that's the funny part, is sometimes some of the biggest bears are just at your bait and you have no idea where they came from or when they got there.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah.
Tad loves
you'll be sitting there and look down and look up, and there's a huge bear sitting in your bait. Like,
Crazy.
And so you just have to really pay attention the whole time, like what's going on, what happened. And in the, it was Callie's first time hunting last year. And so I didn't have the opportunity to tell her, like, "Hey, scent pre-shower." She wears makeup and perfume every day of her life. And
sometimes it's hard to tell the ladies that you need makeup and shower, because they go to work and, want to look good for work and stuff. So, Amy, my good friend that I've hunted with for years, while I was, I guess, a little bit nervous about it, once I told her she's an excellent hunter, she's like, "Oh, okay." And she did it. And the next set, she got a bear.
So I think we've covered this scent control thing pretty good. And so for those of you listening in the audience, I mean, obviously, don't again, if you're going bear hunting on Saturday, don't shower with your normal soap on Friday, and then scent free on Saturday. At all, like you were saying. Like you guys said, I would make that recommendation. Like when it's whitetail season, I don't touch regular scents in terms of soaps and shampoos and all that kind of stuff, deodorants, all that. I just completely switch over, and that's what I use. And I don't care how that smells to my customers. Whatever, it works out. Let's switch gears to kind of almost like a lightning round, because I know we're running long here. Are you guys okay on time?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got all night.
All right. Good deal. I want to switch gears to a couple of things. You had, actually, I don't remember which one of you put El Guapo as your name on this thing. That must be Tad. That's Tad. El Guapo. Okay, because there's Jeff. Okay, so
he's Tad's a big deal in his house. Just ask him.
Is he?
Yeah.
Does he drive a Dodge Stratus?
I'm pretty important where I come from.
I'm a big deal. I want to ask you guys, with when you're out there and you see a bear coming in to your bait, or let's say you're even spot and stock, whatever. Do you guys have a recommendation as to nuance wise or physical feature wise to identify a sow versus a boar? For me, like for deer, I can always spot a buck whether I can see the antlers or not, because of the way they carry themselves.
When a bear comes into your bait,
mm-hmm.
is you have to say bear at least 15 times.
Okay, wait a minute.
Because
clarify
the other
that.
guy doesn't really understand that there's a bear.
Well,
you gotta go,
yeah.
Bear.
So you have to see it 15 times.
It's somewhere around there, yeah.
Okay.
Because the other guy doesn't really understand that there's a bear, because no one ever gets nervous when you say bear. Joking.
Yeah, that's the joke. That's the joke with Pat and I is even when we're both looking at the bear, we want whoever sees it first or whatever, we have to just say bear, 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 bear.
My son a couple of years ago actually had to go to the bathroom, and he was going in a bottle. I'm a believer in using a bottle, not peeing off the stand. Some people think you can pee off the stand. And I'm like, bear. And he looks at me like, whatever, dude. I'm like, no, bear, 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 bear. And he just looks at me like, whatever. And he just keeps doing his business. And then all of a sudden the bear starts crunching on dog food. And he looks at me and he goes, you're not even joking, are you? I'm like, no. And he turns his head and he starts laughing. It wasn't a bear he wanted to shoot. But it's still funny.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So, boars and sows, difference in them. Younger bears up to 4 or 5 years old, it's really hard to tell. Really hard to tell. But you can, with the nose is more slender.
On a female?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's more of a triangle shape. Boars will have, it almost seems like it looks like it's shorter, but it's larger because their head's so wide.
Gotcha.
Once they get older, it's hard to tell, except for like Mosquito. We named one Mosquito because it was an old sow that literally had just the tiniest snout you've ever seen.
Okay.
But yeah, it's
the thing I always look at are the wrists, and everybody thinks I'm crazy, but the hair, the boars. I've never, unless they're like 2 years old, I've never seen a boar with really shaggy hair. It's always like well groomed, like all the same length.
Oh, really?
And sows typically have kind of that longer, shaggier, where it's not quite as uniform hair. And so it's funny because I'll just see hair and be like, pretty sure that's a boar. But I always look at the wrists. A sow is built to have the kids, the cubs.
Mm-hmm.
So her back legs, her hips are bigger, and she's tiny up front. And the boars are built to kind of fight and show off. So their front legs are always, proportionately much larger, and they kind of just go straight down all the way to their feet. And those sows typically kind of start out a little big, but then they'll have these dainty little wrists, and they just seem to use their, up front. And so, everybody has kind of their, when you've seen a ton of bears, you kind of have your own thing that you go to, and it's not always rock solid, but the face is always a kind of a giveaway. But for me, it's those wrists and the hair and the way they walk into the bait.
If you see a big boar walk into the bait and he's pigeon-toed and his toes are pointing in, you're going to know it's a big boar.
Okay.
Yeah.
The sows don't pigeon-toe ever.
My biggest concern is, especially when it comes to baiting, is I do like, think of it this way: a sow comes in and she's got her cubs, kind of stowed away somewhere in the rear where you can't see, and you know how they kind of they give us this thing where the cubs know when it's okay to come to where mom's at.
Yeah.
What if I'm like terrified that I would get so excited, and I'm like looking around, I don't see any cubs, we're good to go, and open fire kind of thing. And then come to find out it was a sow with cubs. That terrifies me. In fact, that's been one of my hesitations with getting overly involved in bear hunting. And maybe I'm just, I'm wrong for having that mentality, but for me, that's always terrified me. So I've always been big on trying to figure out how to identify, because like I can always tell from a distance, the way that a buck deer, whether it's a mule deer or a whitetail, I can always tell. And I'm like pretty accurate with it. I can always tell when it's a buck.
Okay, so the first thing with that is good for you. Always be terrified of that. Because
I am,
what
man.
it's saying
I
is
am.
that you're ethical about making sure that you're going to shoot the right animal. And that's one of the things that baiting offers you, is that you have the time. They don't run in and go, I got to buy the dog food and run off. 99% of the time. I mean, I have had the bagel stealers that run in, grab a bagel, and run off. But usually those are smaller bears.
Yeah.
And they're adorable when they do that. I mean, it's really fun to watch bears. That's one of the best things in the world. And it's Jeff and I have watched, I don't know how many bears over the years. And literally until last year, we've never killed a bear together.
Oh, really? I didn't know
Because,
that.
yep, we don't care. It's not high on our list of things to do. And last year we said, you know what? Let's do it. And we happened to do it in the same night.
Oh, sweet.
So, yeah, but worrying about that is a great thing because you don't want to kill a sow with cubs. You will know.
That's where
Those cubs come in pretty quick.
Yeah,
and that's where the
go ahead, Jeff.
That's your ethics.
camera.
I'm saying you have wonderful ethics about it. Don't shoot if you don't know.
Yeah, I won't, and I won't, because if I accidentally kill a sow with cubs and I don't know those cubs are around, I'm catching those cubs and I'm raising them, and I'm going to make sure. you know what I mean?
I want a videotape of you catching those cubs.
You're going to see it, man. I will catch them, and a month later they are going to love me. I've always wanted a pet bear, and it never happened, but you know.
I hope you like hickeys.
Yeah, you'll get better at it as you go along. And like Tad said, you don't have to shoot. It's and I understand you get excited. You really do.
Mm-hmm.
And every bear, when you're new at baiting, looks huge. and so you do. You're like, oh my God, a giant bear right there.
Yeah,
it walks up to the bait. And that's why we use barrels. Really is. If they only come up halfway up the barrel, don't shoot it if you're looking for a trophy bear. But that's where the game cameras come into handy. It's not helping us kill bears. It's helping us kill the right bear.
The right bear. That's boars. A great point, Jeff.
And because you'll get to know those bears, and you'll trust me, it's like deer too. You'll have them named. You'll be like, oh, there's the sow, the 630 sow, where she comes in. You recognize a spot on her chest or a nick in her ear or something, and she's by herself. And then all of a sudden at 7 o'clock, a bear comes in. Well, it's the same sow, but now she has her cubs. She comes in, eats, so she can get hers, and then she brings the kids back so they can have theirs, and she can kind of watch over. And that type of stuff happens. And that's where that game camera is really important, in my opinion. It's not helping anybody kill a bear on a bait. If you sit there long enough, you're going to get one. It's just, it prevents that type of stuff from happening. And that's why I'm always a proponent of keeping the game cameras as is.
Yeah.
For that reason,
I would totally.
It really does save those incidental problems that could arise.
And that's where baiting and hound hunting are a huge, huge factor in making sure that you're not killing a sow with cubs. Most of the hound hunters I know actually really are more into the tree 'em and free 'em. So, yeah, I mean, spot and stock, those cubs could be up a tree 50 yards away and you'll never know it.
They say the yardage again?
50, 100, 200 yards away.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and you guys, I think some of these questions that I'm asking you guys, they might seem a little elementary. They're like, okay, man, what are you talking about? Why are you asking me that? I'm a guy that's seen a lot of bears in the woods, but I haven't spent a lot of time hunting bears. You know what I mean?
Right.
And especially when it comes to baiting. So that is to say, like I know very specific nuances of elk and deer and some other game species, but with bears, I just feel so out of place and unprepared. It's just one of those things I want to overcome, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So switching a little bit to the discussion of, I've heard you guys talk about in terms of bait, dog food a few times. Can we just spend, again, we've been going at this for like an hour and a half here. Can we spend a little bit of time about talking about what kind of bait you guys use? Because I want to make the one thing that I've noticed, and it's my fault for not explaining this right, but like when I buy Batum 907 products or something like that, those are attractants. That's not the actual bait that is being consumed by the bear. Those are the attractants, and it's a very important aspect of it, and you need that. But what are you guys putting in the barrel besides the attractants from like Batum 907 or some of the other companies out there?
Well, a lot of times we start out with the smart asses that we run into in the woods. We put them in the barrel first.
Yeah, and so when you do that, do you make sure that they are de-soaped from Irish Spring and sprayed down with some non-scent, or are you just putting them in there raw?
Well, no, so we use sardine oil.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Picked that up off. Yeah, I got that off of a Netflix docuseries last year. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. Right? That's what a lot of people don't understand is attractants get the bears there, but it'll only get them there, once each bear.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have something there that they like and that they want to come back for. They have to, and a lot of people like raw or, rotten fish or rotten meat. Tad and I are on the same page. We don't want to sit there and smell rotten meat all day. We don't. And so we don't hunt with meat or, the carp or anything like that. Bears know that sugar turns to fat. That's why they hit the berries so hard.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a lot more bears eating berries than I have ever, fish or game meat. And so we like to keep things sweet. Jess has stuff that sweetens up the dog food.
Bear's diet actually consists of about 3% meat.
Yeah. Yep.
And so Jess has some super, super sweet powder, and it sweetens up whatever you put it on. And it tastes, like blueberry or whatever.
So and that stuff, you just kind of you could just basically powder either whether you're using dog food or popcorn, just put that on there.
I've never been a fan of popcorn.
How come?
On the idea that you spend so much time popping popcorn, and it rains on it, and it's just not a filler.
Well, let me ask
can
you
eat
this,
50 pounds of popcorn.
Let me ask you this because I'm kind of on the popcorn train, but again, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So that this is why I've got you guys on. My thought was popcorn because the price point is a lot cheaper and it seems like it's a lot lighter to climb. Where I'm setting a barrel is going to be a good couple of miles from any road. And the thought of hauling dog food on my back 2 miles up this isn't wimpy South Idaho stuff we're talking. We're in North Idaho up here.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, you probably have.
You know what? Mother's Day weekend, why don't you come down and we'll have you pack some bait for us? And we'll see which wimpy Southern Idaho stuff you
We're not hunting.
appreciate.
We're not hunting this Southern Idaho Flatlander stuff up here. I mean,
popcorn is, like Dad said, it's not a great filler. It is a great option for guys that like to hike in super, deep. It's just that a bear will eat a bunch and then it's not, it's still hungry. We like to carry stuff that, think outside the box sometimes, stuff that they really get addicted to, and that fills them up and that they want it, the next day they're like, man, I really need to get back to that bait. So
even last year, Jeff made a discovery on using something that we tried, and we tried it with our buddy Frank. And it was funny to see the reaction of the bears and how it changed everything. And it was literally sugar.
Yeah, Jim, we won't charge for this advice, but it was earth shattering.
Literally, we would put it in one barrel and not the other, and the barrel with sugar in it would be empty before the other one got touched.
Man, that is interesting. That is super cool. So, okay, you're hauling dog food. Is that what I'm gathering? You guys?
Dog food, we have peanut butter, we have some juju stuff. I mean, whatever we can get in bulk, we get a lot of it.
Okay.
We used to be able to get Power Bar. My God, that was the best stuff ever.
I'll bet. Yeah.
The donut shops. I don't like bread in general. But donuts, are very sweet. And if you can get stuff for free, that people are tossing out, or, a local store, where the dog food bags are ripped open, or if you scour Facebook groups or whatever, you'll see people that have, bulk bait, and like Tad said, there was a guy selling, 5-gallon buckets of peanut butter, and
man,
it was a pain in the rear to get it into the barrel and stuff. But man, it sure, you want to find stuff that keeps the bears there, but they can't just eat real fast and take off. And so dog food is notorious for being something they have to just grab, a handful at a time and then eat. My other favorite thing is the sweet feed, the triple rolled oats. It's cheaper than dog food, and it's rolled in molasses.
Oh,
so
yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. You can get it for whether like your horse or llama kind of feed.
Yep. And that stuff's very inexpensive and easy to pack.
Yeah,
and
easy to pack.
And we always use a little bit of grease. It's a great attractant, like restaurant, the liquid grease, the used stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great attractant, but the bears will actually, slurp down on it as well.
Actually, and that's something we haven't touched on either, is the grease.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that.
So grease, as far as restaurant grease, fire grease, really is a huge factor. So when you're baiting bears, the goal is to attract them. So when they come in, put grease in front of the barrel. And when they step in it, they walk off. And then another bear crosses that path and smells like grease and follows it to the barrel.
Mm-hmm.
So you create basically spokes going out from where every bear has left of a scent trail. So putting grease in front of the barrel and using grease around the bait is huge.
Okay.
And
what do you mean? So you're putting it. You've got your bait barrel, right? And and then like you're talking about putting the grease in like a radius around the barrel, outside of the barrel. Is that what you're saying?
Right in front of it.
In front of the barrel.
Okay. And just a logistical note. So a guy gets a 55-gallon drum, right, with a lid.
Yes.
And you can see. I'm thinking about like welding this stop plate thing inside, so that not all the let's say I'm using dog food is down there available. Like it has to come out slowly. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We have a couple prototypes going kind of this year that Jeff and a few of our friends have been working on.
Are you going to go on like Shark Tank with that prototype kind of thing, or?
No, but we'll give you the info on it if it works.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we'll let you know.
I appreciate that.
Because the problem is that if you put dog food in there, all of a sudden and we have this on camera, the bear reaches in there, breaks open the seal and hits the jackpot and everything comes pouring out. Then you end up with crows eating everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, well, I just fed 50 stupid crows.
So we put a little grease in the barrel in the bottom, and the dog food soaks it up. And you can sweeten it with the sugar and stuff too. And then we pour a lot of it right in front of the barrel so that they have to stand in it. And then basically they're advertising for us, because as bears love bear country, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you find one bear, typically you find multiple bears. Whatever food source or whatever they have is drawing more of them in. And so they go and they do their little bear trails through all the thick stuff and down to the water and up to their bed and around to feed and everything else. Well, another bear comes by and smells his trail and he follows it back into the bait. And now he gets it on him and he goes out and does his stuff and creates new trails. So they go out and they just basically are creating scent trails back to the bait.
Advertising.
Have you ever gotten that? Have you ever gotten that liquid grease on you?
Mm-hmm.
You can't get it out of your clothes. You can't get it off.
Have you ever got it in the back of your truck?
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Don't get me started.
Because it's still there if you have.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It will never, ever leave the back of your truck.
Yep.
And a lot of guys hate the grease, or now it's really hard to find because companies buy it and they lock it up, and they make their biodiesel or whatever they're doing with it. And so I actually did a video on YouTube several years ago. I set up a bait in a brand new area, never been there, and I didn't use any grease. I just used Jess's products because she has what's called a drip drag oil.
I've got it.
And so I actually poured that in front of the barrel, and I put the sweet stuff on the dog food. I set up a bear bait without ever being there before and without a drop of oil, of grease. And 5 days later, my son shot a bear. And it was the greatest experiment ever, because it was like, okay, well, now we know we can pick a spot and we don't have to have grease. I do like the grease. It's just, it's free, it's cheap, but the stuff she makes is very strong, and it's a great way to get things started.
Yeah.
But it's just, you can't emphasize enough getting that scent everywhere.
Okay. When you're hauling, I want to go back to this dog food topic real quick. When you're hauling dog food to the barrel, first of all, actually, let's pause that. I'll come back to that. How are you guys hauling the barrel from the truck to the bait site?
Do you remember earlier when I mentioned Jeff's strong young son?
Yeah. Okay. So
we just tell him he can't do it, and he does.
Couple of workhorses.
No, Taylor, that's too heavy. You can't carry that all at once.
And my youngest is now at that point too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, he's an amazing young man.
You rent him out, right? For a nominal fee.
Yeah,
you can haul my barrel.
Yeah, sometimes he's our mule that we rent out, and sometimes he's a jackass. So
because I'm just thinking of ways to strap it to my pack and try to get it up there, But I got I don't know. I always joke around about, North Idaho, South Idaho kind of thing. It's still Idaho. Idaho is just steep, nasty country, right? Yep. And so I'm trying to figure out how to get that barrel to this particular spot I know, where I just happen to know there's a ton of bears in this area.
So my first question is always this: do you have a lot of crows up there, ravens?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I do.
Because that's actually the determining factor if I even put a barrel out or not. Because some of my baits, I don't even put a barrel out.
Oh, really?
Because there's no birds.
So the one bait we have, the one bait we have has an ungodly number of crows.
Yeah.
And they will eat half your bait.
Oh, I don't want to deal with that.
No, and you nailed it. You get a pack frame where you can, and we do this. You ratchet strap the barrel to your pack frame, and don't put anything in it, because as light as it kind of feels at first, it really wears down on you, because it's dragging through the brush, it's pulling back on you. That 20, 30 pounds it feels like at first ends up feeling like 100 pounds by the time you get to where you're going.
Yeah,
and all I can say is ratchet strap the hell out of it, because when it falls off on the side of a steep hill,
it rolls down.
You're not getting.
I would be pissed, man.
We've used garden carts. We've used actually one of the things we use a lot now are the jet sleds.
So that's a good idea, Tad. Because I was thinking of using my ice fishing sled.
That's what we use.
Yeah, that's what we use.
Okay.
And our good buddy Eddie.
Good to know.
Our good buddy Eddie rode a cart down the mountain once. Yeah, it was quite comical. He really was helping out a lot, and that was a good hunt for a guy. But he crashed it.
Oh man. I can
But,
see me
yeah.
doing that, man. Strapping my barrel to my pack and then it coming loose and just rolling down some freaking canyon that's 10 miles down. I'd be done. I'd go down and
Yeah.
fetch that
We've
barrel.
done it.
I'd set it up on the road. I'd go get my truck and I'd load it up. I'd be like, you know what? Shit on this bear hunting thing. I'll stick to elk hunting.
Well, I did even the worst one time because I spilled, 10 gallons, Tad, of bait.
Oh yes.
I had a jet sled and we were going down the trail and it popped off the edge and the buckets came open with all of our bait.
Oh no.
And so we had to wait for that bait to be gone because the bears were eating out before they came to our bait.
Oh man.
And the biggest thing of everything with the baiting is you really got to just laugh at where you mess up and learn from it.
I got a question for you.
I mean, we have, Jeff and I have had so many times that we sit there and go, "Oh man, we screwed this up."
Yeah, and I'm good at that. I'm really good at that. I'm worried that some people listening to this I don't know, they take it too serious, man. And
I spent my first 10 years of bear baiting doing it wrong.
Well, good to know.
Years.
Good to know.
Of not doing it right.
Because you've killed a lot of bear.
I haven't killed a lot of bear. I've helped a lot of people kill bears. I don't shoot bears.
Same thing.
Like I've said, I've helped a lot of people get bears, but I just enjoy helping other people more.
Yeah, I could tell. Just we're friends on Facebook, and I think I follow you on Instagram too. Where you guys are both that way too. Where you do a lot of super sarcastic, hilarious things, but you also do this there's this serious side, right? Where you guys are serious about mentoring other hunters. You take the
Jeff,
ethics.
Did you get serious on me?
What's that?
Did Jeff get serious on me at some point?
Dude, Jeff's been super serious this entire podcast.
Dude, I'm a little pissed off.
Me too.
Yeah, around all the time.
Me too.
We like to laugh that we screw around all the time, literally all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow we kill stuff.
Yeah.
There's not a 5-minute period go by when we're hunting that we're not screwing off. I mean, they're just playing jokes on each other.
I saw your guys' video where you're sitting in a stand or one of those blinds. I think you guys were hunting pronghorn. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Yeah,
that was pretty good.
That was a classic.
Yep.
That was pretty good.
We've actually had a lot of requests to do more of that, so we may try that in the bear stand.
You should try it. It's pretty entertaining. I really enjoyed it, and I think a lot of people.
But life should be about having fun. It should be about helping other people.
Do you guys want to talk about that? Tad, do you want to expand on that?
Everybody thinks that we do this because we're selfless. Everyone thinks we do it because we're selfless. But realistically, it's the most selfish thing we ever do. Because we get to see somebody experiencing something for the first time and being successful.
Yeah.
Helping people out. Our friend Philip and his daughter, he still hasn't shot a bear because he's not a good hunter, but apparently his daughter's a much better hunter than he is. And it's just so fun to be able to help.
There's a lot to be said on the aspect of like everybody talks about the fulfillment aspect of hunting, right? And that's a big deal for me. Fulfillment is a big part of it. And I find myself as my girls get older and I'm able to take them out more and they get to experience more. And I see those golf ball sized eyeballs when this thing happens, these things come together. Yes. This buck walks into right where we wanted it. And all of a sudden we're walking up on this buck and we're putting a tag on it. And they're seeing the whole process of it getting broken down and butchered and put in the freezer. And my wife's making these Swedish meatballs out of it or something like that. People, I think, underestimate the value of that fulfillment.
Yes. And it gives kids confidence.
Oh yeah.
Because they know they did it. They did something and it was a great experience. And that's the thing is we always try and make sure that no matter what, if you don't get a bear, no big deal. We had fun. We always make sure, probably to a fault, but we try and make sure kids are, giggling the whole time if they're sitting on the bear bait. And because you don't want them to remember like, well, I was told to, shut up, be quiet for 2 hours, and then I shot a bear and then it was all done. You want them to look back and say, man, I was giggling the whole time, and then all of a sudden my heart was beating out of my chest, and and I shot this bear, and we always let them try and carry it and think, I packed that out, I shot it and packed it out, and we always let our kids skin everything, and
we get yelled at by Kylie.
Yeah, my daughter actually gets really upset if I try and help her skin anything.
Yeah, Sam's the same way. So.
And if I'm doing anything other than just holding a leg, then I'm in trouble. She insists she does it herself, and she and Sam have been that way their whole lives. Just let me do it, and so, and it gives them confidence, and you see it, progress throughout their lives as they're doing more and more stuff.
And at first you're offended because you're like, no, I want to help you. And then you realize that you've done a good job as a parent.
Yeah.
Giving them the confidence to do it themselves.
It's just nothing like it.
And it's very fulfilling.
Actually, the best thing is when they cook it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and great point,
so proud.
Seriously, great point.
They put food on the table for you.
Yep, we made some venison burgers this last fall after we got our deer together and all that, and that it takes it from the process. They saw the deer alive, they saw the deer skinned out, they saw the deer butchered, they saw it packaged, and now they're making something with it. The whole process. Now I've got these kids that are lifelong hunters. They understand the ethics side of it. They understand the sportsman side of it. They understand the challenge and the whole package that is hunting, right? And that is an important aspect of what we do. And I think that's why people fall so hard when we're talking about this love for hunting. And I hate to use some cheesy line like that, but it's such an experience that embodies the encompassing thing of the human nature, if that makes sense. I sound like a damn professor, but that's what it is.
No, you don't. You're not that smart.
How did you know that? Like how? No,
you're an elk hunter. Your IQ is about 85.
Yeah, very true. I never claimed to have a high IQ, but
and you're also a roofer, so it's probably down there 75.
That's even pushing it, man. I can't even. I wear cowboy boots because I don't know how to tie my shoes. Let's get real. So,
God, we're brothers from another mother.
Can you guys share with the audience real quick before we wrap this up what your favorite recipe is for bear?
The cedar plank. No, I'm just kidding.
Sea salt.
I love bear burger. Like I love bear burgers. So I eat a lot of, I have it ground up into burger. Mm-hmm. They add a little, the butcher, if I take it to a butcher, which a lot of times I do, because in the springtime, I'm just not in that mode of processing game animals and, having everything out. And so
I know that's always
I'll take it to a local guy. And I don't make the pepperoni stuff. So I take it to a guy, Andy, and he makes fantastic, pepperoni and, the beef sticks. But Bear Burger is one of my favorite things.
You're talking, just so we're clear, Get Your Meat LLC down there, right?
Yes. And so even this weekend, we were enjoying some salami that he had made out of an elk that I shot last fall.
Oh, nice, man. That's great.
Oh, my God, it's good. It's addicting. You don't... I've got to ask you to wrap it in individual packages, not 3 next year, because as soon as you open it up and you eat it all.
Yeah.
So he's just done a fantastic job with it.
Oh yeah, and Andy's been on the show, so I'm a huge fan.
Yeah. So, and he did so what was it? Last year, I had him do a couple things. I had him experiment with me, which he did. And
Dad did a lot of experimenting in college too. But.
Yeah.
I've heard that.
But, yeah. And Jeff still thinks his kids are his. But,
Whoa!
See if my
And
dog's
Ted
laughing.
thinks that's
You
a
got
girl.
Cujo going on over there. What happened?
That's my grip. She's ferocious.
Yeah, she sounds like she's pretty ferocious.
But I did have him make up some that I requested, and it's good, but a little weird for Bear. But the sage regular breakfast sausage, oh my God, it's delicious too. So he's done a really good job with butchering.
I need to borrow Andy if I get a bear this year, because I don't know that I butcher my own meat for the most part, but I don't know what I'm doing with the bear, so I don't want to touch it. I'll take that.
He does a good job.
Yeah,
he does it, and you can do like treat it like pork too. If you take a roast and crock pot it or smoke it till it pulls apart.
Ooh.
Because we do that too. Do like pulled pork with it, and then add the
My
barbecue
roasts are pretty fun. They're amazing.
So you can treat it a lot like the pork. It's not my favorite thing to eat, like just as a steak, because it's kind of a dense, kind of rich meat.
Mm-hmm.
So we always find those ways. Bear's a great thing to get. That you don't want to take a whole elk and have it made into jerky, because I don't, because I love elk meat. Just the way it tastes. And so bear's a great way to, you do the things like the pepperoni, and Andy makes a maple breakfast sausage that tastes like, little maple syrup with your sausage. It's just, it's
fantastic.
Good.
Yeah.
So it's the fun stuff to test. That's what's fun about it, is test it out, try all different kinds of things.
It's kind of fun to be able to also promote some guys that have done such a good job and contribute to, like Andy also donates to a lot of the sportsman organizations around here.
Mm-hmm.
And, Jess also helps out with everything she can.
Jess is like, I feel like Jess is too giving sometimes. And Andy, there's a lot of people that I've had on my show, and I could tell when they're not putting their money where their mouth is. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Andy's very modest.
Yes, and
he doesn't believe in himself as much as he's worth.
Exactly, and I don't know if he's like got this modest and shyness to him, where that is okay. Jess is absolutely humble. Mm-hmm. But incredibly wise and just an amazing person. Yeah.
Yeah. She literally is the most giving person, to a fault. Like you said.
To a fault.
Yeah.
I don't know when she sleeps.
Right.
Because of the time
exactly. I just want to,
it's just,
I remember a few years back, somebody was like, I was telling a hunting story about something that had happened over, whatever the fall season was. I don't remember. And they're like, it sounds like you're hunting like a girl. Call Jess Gann and say that. Because call Jess Gann and say that. You hunt like a girl. Like, she'll whoop your ass. I don't want to hear it. And so it's just interesting. And especially.
Actually, she wouldn't whoop your ass. She'd just out hunt you.
She just out hunt you. And that's whooping your ass. And so,
she knows what she's doing.
Oh, man. Yeah.
She teaches us stuff.
And that's my favorite part of doing a podcast like this and talking to, people like you guys. You guys inspire the hell out of me. And Jess, she inspires the hell out of me. And Andy, he inspires the hell out of me. And Scott Schmid and all these people that I get on the show.
Let's see, you had Alex Wagner on there.
Yeah, Alex.
About whatever.
Yeah. And now, actually, I talked to him last night, and he was talking about having you on. And so. So I told him, I sent him a sweatshirt and I sent it to the wrong person. So I had a couple of Alexes in my system.
Did you send him like an extra small? Because he's a tiny little fella.
I did. It was a triple XL extra small. And he said, as long as he doesn't flex, it shouldn't rip. And we should be in good shape.
Perfect. So. Yeah. He keeps trying to flex, but he doesn't know how to bear bait, so we're good.
No, it's just everybody's just they're just such great people. Like we were talking about how incredible everybody is in the roofing industry and everything. But if you nail down,
Idaho has a lot of great people.
It does. It
really does.
It does. And so for you
not
guys,
a lot of egos, not a lot of people that feel like they need to be the coolest person on earth.
You always have that everywhere you go.
Except for Jeff Morris, that guy. Jesus.
Yeah.
He is the coolest guy on earth, for sure.
He's a dick. He really. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm going to leave that at that. But I want.
Well, Jim, I'll just tell you that the secret to getting good at bear hunting, they say like it takes a village to raise a kid. Well, it takes a village to raise, the world's best bear hunter like myself. You have to have.
It really did take a lot to teach him his shit.
You have to have a good support network. And so everybody asks, like, geez, how do you go hunting so much? Because, when it's bear season, I'm going, after work 2, 3, 4 times a day or a week because I don't like to bear hunt on the weekends too much. People see you walking into your bait or, shed hunters or mushroom pickers.
Yeah.
I hate being there because there's so much going on. I just prefer not to be out there.
Yeah, I never
we
hunt
do a lot
on
of our hunting.
weekends, man.
Yeah, and so everybody's like, man, how do you hunt so much? And the key is the good friends, because I go hunting and Tad is nice enough to just not go sometimes because, he goes over to my house and helps my wife with a lot of things. He seems to keep her, where I don't have a lot of honeydews when I get back. She seems really happy, she's not mad that I was gone. And
I see where this is going.
She's always really tired afterwards, but whatever. I get to go hunting a lot. And Tad just
if you need that kind of help around your house, I can get you more hours in the woods.
Yeah, I mean, Tad just hasn't hunted much lately, but I've been able to go a lot, and my wife just doesn't even seem to notice.
And it's really cool because he shares, when he's successful, he shares the meat with me, so it's really good.
Oh man, you guys are a ball. I need to get you back on the show. We're running super long on this one. My episodes never go 2 hours, and apparently we just have too much fun. So,
well, if we need to do more,
we're gonna
and be less serious.
Yes. Well, no. I'm not saying less serious. Not at all. I'm saying you guys, between the two of you,
we can't be less serious.
Oh, I see. Maybe I mistook that backwards. I don't want to be more serious. I want to be less serious and just have a good time. and so I did that backwards, but that's just I told you my IQ is lower than the average bear out there. But
you are a roofer.
I'm a roofer, and it shows. It shows. But I want you guys to know that from my perspective, watching you guys, I look up to you guys. I think that there is so much to learn from you guys. You have a lot to offer. You guys are humble. You have fun. You don't take it too serious. And you notch tags and you just have fun while doing it. And you guys have a great friendship. And it's like, it creates a lot of envy for a lot of people. And I appreciate what you guys do. And I appreciate you coming on the show. I hate cutting it off.
So, Jim, if you do have any questions from listeners, that to further it, Jeff and I'm going to speak for him because I can. If just hit us up, we'll answer whatever we can to try and help you.
That's good to know.
Yeah, if it's setup questions or we get a ton of the man, I had this big bear coming in, but he's never there when I'm there. And Tad and I always know the answer immediately, but it's like, well, send us kind of your setup.
I was quiet. No, it smelled you.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you have questions, Jim, when you're setting up your bait for the first time and whatever, and don't ever hesitate. Because the other thing is, people panic or, they don't want to change something or, whatever. You just have to go for it. We
have changed things mid-season so many times.
Gotcha.
And it's always been for the better.
One quick question. I got to tell you, I am doing because I told you earlier my house is on the market. I am doing podcasting marathon today. So I've got a hard break here, but I want to ask, when do you guys recommend getting your bait barrels set up? Like time of year? Do you have you had mentioned Mother's Day.
Oh.
Yeah, Tad likes Mother's Day. I used to go out as soon as I could. I was the guy digging the snow out and putting the bait out.
Mm-hmm.
But then I realized that the bears didn't really show up and they weren't serious about eating for a couple weeks anyways. The last 2 weeks of the season are always our best 2 weeks of the season.
Now, when you say last 2 weeks, Jeff, are you in the units you guys are hunting? Because some of the units up here in end of May, some units end mid-June, other units end end of June. What is end of season for you guys?
It's whatever it is, because our unit used to be till June 15th, and those last 2 weeks, the 1st through the 15th, were the best.
Okay.
Now it's open through June 30th, and those 2 weeks last year were our best 2 weeks.
Good to know.
It just seems
That's
like the more that time goes on and everything, the more comfortable they get, and the rut brings in new bears, and then they're starving after the rut, so they hang out and eat. And it sounds odd, and I know you're in a hurry, but our best days on the bait have been the hottest days on the bait.
Really?
We don't
really.
If the wind's blowing, or it's raining bad,
might as well
we just don't go. But those days where it's 85 degrees and everybody's like, "Oh, those black bears won't be out till dark." That's when you show up. You get there at 3 p.m. and there's already a bear on the bait.
That's some serious inside information right there. I would have never thought that.
Yeah. So I just tell people
days.
Don't get burned out on those cold, windy days. Don't go be a tough guy.
Yeah.
Just wait.
So what do you want to do on a cold day?
Well,
curl up in a ball and be warm.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we do have camera footage of bears on those days, random. But yeah, no, it's the warm days. Last year, we did get one bear on a freezing cold day, but that was because my son was tougher than me.
Good deal.
And those real windy days, bears don't, most animals don't like wind because they can't hear or smell anything. So we just flat out don't do it. And there's been times where we get to the bait and realize it's really windy, and we just turn around and go home. We don't even try.
Huh.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna keep that in my back pocket because I would have thought vice versa for some reason. When we're talking about predator, any kind of predator hunting, that's kind of always my go-to thing. So that's good to hear. Guys, thanks a bunch for coming on the show. So, legitimately, I really appreciate it. I would love to do this. So while we're still recording, can I get it on record that you guys will agree to come back on the show?
Yes.
Okay. I got one yes.
Tad, do I have to do it with Jeff?
Tad, I need to know. I got to have an answer. Just say yes.
Do I do it with Jeff?
We can do it either way.
Yes, I'll do it. Of course. Anytime, buddy.
All right. Thanks, guys, again. Tad Sherman and Jeff Morris. These guys are legends in the state of Idaho. Everybody, Western hunter-wise, can learn a lot from these guys. I appreciate you guys joining me. I'm looking forward to doing it again, and good luck to everybody out there bear hunting, man. You made it all the way to the end. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. We sure appreciate your support. This is Jim Huntsman signing off and reminding you to check us out at Instagram at The Western Huntsman and on Facebook at The Western Huntsman. And you can also check out the website at thewesternhuntsman.com. Thanks again. We'll see you guys next time. Stay Western, and I'll see you on the mountain.